Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful mental model, one that drives some of the most world-changing innovations. And it's not about luck. It's actually a specific framework for thinking that you can apply to pretty much anything you do.
So let me ask you a question. What if your team, your company, was the one that said no to the next Zoom? It's a terrifying thought, right? Well, it almost happened. And the story of how Zoom was nearly passed over, it reveals a completely different way of thinking about risk, failure, and what it really means to succeed. So picture this. It's 2012. An investment committee looks at this pitch. They see a crowded market, a high price tag, no customers, and a founder with imperfect English who's already been rejected 8 times. They saw a list of perfectly logical red flags, and they passed. But one person, playing by a totally different set of rules, saw a massive opportunity. That difference in thinking, that's the venture mindset, and it's what saved Zoom from being rejected into oblivion.
Okay, let's dive into the first big principle. Hunt home runs, not perfection. This is all about what you're optimizing for, and chances are it's the total opposite of what you've been taught your whole career.
See, the traditional corporate world is often dominated by what you could call a Six Sigma mindset. It's laser-focused on efficiency, on eliminating every single error. But the venture mindset, it understands something crucial. The biggest mistake isn't a failed project. The biggest mistake is missing that one single opportunity that could change everything.
And this quote from Bill Gurley just nails it. VCs are way less worried about what they call errors of commission. Backing a project that fails. Why? Because you can only lose your initial investment. You lose 1x. They are terrified of errors of omission, the sin of not acting. Because missing the next Google, that's a 10,000x loss, and that's the mistake they absolutely cannot afford to make.
I mean, think about the Amazon Fire Phone. It was a spectacular, very public, and incredibly expensive failure. In most companies, a mistake on that scale, it ends careers. Period. You would expect heads to roll, but that's not what happened. Jeff Bezos actually brags about the failure, because to him, it's proof they're taking big enough swings. And get this. The executive in charge of the Fire Phone, a guy named Ian Freed, he wasn't fired. He was immediately put in charge of the next big bet. And that project became the Amazon Echo, a massive home run. Now that is the mindset in action.
So if you're hunting for these game-changing home runs, where do you even find them? Well, the second principle is to find ideas everywhere, because the best ones are almost never where you'd expect to find them.
I mean, just look at this list. It's wild. The idea for Dropbox came to a VC while he was buying a rug. Nespresso came from an engineer's vacation. Coinbase literally started with a cold email. The key insight here is that these transformative ideas are all around us, but you have to be open and you have to be actively looking for them in the most unconventional places.
But there's this huge barrier that stops big organizations from seeing these ideas. It's called not invented here syndrome. It's this deep-seated institutional arrogance, really, that says, hey, if we didn't create it ourselves inside our own walls, it can't possibly be that good. It's the exact reason Xerox famously had the personal computer in its own labs, but completely missed its potential.
Procter & Gamble, though, they made a conscious decision to fight this. They shifted their entire culture from not invented here to proudly found elsewhere. And this simple but profound change in perspective completely transformed their innovation, leading to huge blockbusters like Swiffer Dusters and Olay Regenerist, both of which were found outside the company.
All right, on to principle 3. Say no, then go all in. So once you've got this pipeline of ideas coming from everywhere, how on earth do you decide which ones to back? The answer is kind of weird. You have to get incredibly good at saying no.
101, just let that number sink in. That's how many deals an early-stage VC will seriously look at and reject for every single yes. See, they aren't looking for reasons to invest. They're hunting for a critical flaw, that one single reason to say no as fast as possible. This frees up all their time and energy to focus only on the very few ideas that survive that filter.
And they treat these investments not as one big final decision, but more like a game of poker. That initial investment, that's just seeing your cards. It's a small bet.
Then new information comes in. That's the flop. And now you have to decide, are you going to fold and cut your losses, or do you see something promising and raise the bet, double down? The flexibility to either quit or go all in based on new data, that is everything.
And here is a perfect example of how that works. Slack actually started as a failed video game called Glitch. The game was a total bust. The company was a failure. The investment was basically a loss. But the investors were playing poker. They folded on the idea, the game, but they doubled down on the team. That pivot, that willingness to quit one path and go all in on another, is what turned a total failure into a multi-billion-dollar company. So what does this all add up to? What's the big takeaway? It's that your mindset is everything. This isn't just a strategy for investing money. It's a framework for driving innovation and growth in pretty much any field.
So let's put it all together. The venture mindset is a mental model for navigating uncertainty. It's all about hunting for those outsized home run wins and knowing that most of your attempts are going to fail. It's about sourcing ideas from everywhere and being flexible enough to quit or double down. And this isn't just for VCs. It's a truly actionable framework for anyone, leaders, creators, professionals who wants to drive real breakthrough innovation.
And ultimately, this all comes back to the game that you're playing. We all make bets every single day on our projects, on our careers, on our teams. So the question this mindset really leaves us with is, are your bets big enough? Are you playing for small, safe wins? Or are you hunting for the kind of home run that could change everything?